Now let's see. So here we've got a sample with a count of 4. Count 4. So it's 4 samples. What we can calculate now is the sample mean, x bar. And to do that, we just simply type in equals average. So here it is the preset function. But all we need to do with the left mouse click or left mouse button pressed, drag it down, close the bracket and get the average. So our average is 13.825, so that's the mean. We now can calculate the sample variance s squared. So for this we put in variance, start typing, and we are looking for the sample variance. So here the sample var.s, double click, again left mouse button pressed, drag it down, close the bracket, and here we get our sample variance. And of course sometimes we want to have a sample standard deviation, so we just simply take the square root of the variance, or we can use the built-in standard deviation function equals standard deviation, and again here we see standard deviation of a sample, and it tells us actually that it is a sample here. So double click and left mouse button pressed and close the bracket. So what have we got? Oh dear. Equals standard deviation. This one here, just simply a typo. And closed. So that is our standard deviation. And now we have got almost everything that we need. We just need if we want to calculate a confidence interval, we know that the confidence interval is x bar plus minus a t critical value times s divided, that's our standard deviation, sample standard deviation, by square root of n. We now need to find the t critical for that. And for this we use, we need information. We need an alpha value. This alpha would be 5%, or that is the same as 0.05. And we also need something that's called degree of freedom. And degrees of freedom in this case is sample size minus 1. So with this information we can calculate a critical t-value. So t crit, and Excel also has a function for that. So we start typing equals t dot, and we are looking for an inverse 2t function here. That's this one here, and it asks us what is the probability, and here this is our alpha, so that is 0.05, and it asks us for the degree of freedom. Now we have 4 samples, so the degree of freedom actually would be 3. Now that is our critical t-value. Now we've got everything together, so we can calculate our confidence interval, and that is the 95% confidence interval, equals 13.825 plus minus 3.18 times our standard deviation 1.45, 4 divided by square root of our sample count, and that is 4. And since we've got Excel here, we just simply do this calculation. So we just simply calculate our margin of error. And remember, the margin of error is this part here. So we calculate this margin of error equals this value, our t critical, times the standard deviation divided by square root 4, so that would be 2. So our margin of error would be 2.29. And what we can do now is we can say our 95% confidence interval is 13.825 plus minus 2.293. And of course we can say we want to calculate what is generally known as an upper and a lower bound. Upper and lower bound. So for the upper we do just 13.825 plus the margin of error, and for the lower bound we go for 13.825 minus the margin of error. So here we get equals 13.825 plus our margin of error, and here we have 13.825 minus the margin of error. So we are fairly confident that the true population mean, from which we have taken our sample, is somewhere between 11.53 and 16.12. So somewhere in between, we assume that there is our true population mean. So thank you for watching, and I hope this makes sense.